Aryan sat on the edge of his bed, his hands trembling as he held the rejection letter. His heart pounded, his throat tightened. He had lost count of how many times he had faced rejection, but somehow this one hurt more. He let out a bitter chuckle. "What a joke," he muttered, tossing the letter onto the pile of others scattered on the floor. His bank account was almost empty, his rent overdue, and his dreams he had once clung to so tightly, felt like nothing more than cruel illusions. His phone buzzed. For a moment he thought about ignoring it, but something inside him told him to look. It was a message from Rohan, his childhood friend. "Your thoughts shape your reality. Change your mind, change your life," Aryan scoffed, shaking his head. "Easy for you to say, Rohan. You have everything: success, money, happiness. What do you know about struggling?" He tossed his phone onto the bed and lay back, staring at the cracks in the ceiling. The silence of the room was suffocating. He closed his eyes, and a single thought echoed in his mind. Maybe I'm just not meant for success. The next morning, Aryan dragged himself out of bed. Another job interview, another inevitable rejection. As he walked down the street, the weight of failure clung to him like a heavy cloak. People around him bustled with purpose, yet he felt like a ghost, drifting through a world that no longer saw him. Then, something caught his eye. A small flower vendor sat at the street corner. The man was old, his face etched with deep wrinkles, his clothes faded and worn. But his hands moved with such care as he arranged bright yellow marigolds, as if he were painting a masterpiece. Aryan stopped. "Business looks slow today," he said, his voice laced with exhaustion. "Yet you're smiling. Why?" The old man glanced up, his eyes twinkling. "If I wait for perfect conditions to be happy, I'll never smile again," he said with a chuckle. Aryan frowned. "But don't you worry. About money, about survival?" The man nodded. "Of course I do. But I also know this. Worrying won't change anything. Happiness is a choice, my boy. Some people wait for life to be perfect before they smile. Others smile first, and then life follows." Aryan stared at him, speechless. The words hit him harder than he expected. He wanted to argue, to say that life didn't work that way, but did it? As he walked away, the old man's words replayed in his mind. What if my failures aren't the problem? What if my mindset is? The waiting room at the interview office was filled with nervous faces. Aryan took a deep breath, trying to silence the voice in his head that whispered, "You're not good enough." Then, for the first time in a long time, he decided to fight back. "I am capable. I am worthy. No matter what happens, I am learning and growing." He clenched his fists, repeating the words until they felt real. When his name was called, he walked in with his head held high. His voice was steady, his answers confident, and for the first time in months, he got the job. The real transformation didn't come from the job itself. It came from what happened next. Every morning, before getting out of bed, he forced himself to answer one simple question. What's one good thing about today? At first, the answers were small. The sun is shining. I have food to eat. I am still here, still trying. But as days turned into weeks, his perspective started shifting. When he made mistakes, he no longer called himself a failure. Instead, he thought, I'm growing. When challenges arose, instead of thinking, why me? He asked, what can I learn from this? Slowly, his life changed. Not because the world had magically become easier, but because he had stopped seeing himself as a victim. 1 year later, Aryan wasn't just surviving. He was thriving. A promotion, new friendships, a sense of purpose. One evening as he walked home, he spotted the old flower vendor again. This time, Aryan was the one who stopped. He picked up a flower and handed the man a few extra bills. The old man grinned. Ah, you finally decided to add some color to your life. Aryan smiled back. Actually, I finally decided to change the way I see it. The man patted his shoulder. That's the secret, my boy. That's the secret. And in that moment, Aryan realized life hadn't changed. He had. His struggles had never been about luck, talent, or fate. They had always been about his mindset. Now think about your own life. How many times have you told yourself, I can't, I'm not good enough, life is unfair? What if you changed the way you spoke to yourself? What if instead of saying, I'm failing, you said, I'm learning? Instead of "I'm stuck," you said "I'm finding a way." Your mind is like a garden. If you plant weeds of negativity, your life will be filled with struggle. But if you plant seeds of hope, courage, and positivity, your life will flourish. So today, make a choice to stop being your own worst enemy, a choice to stop doubting yourself, a choice to believe that you have the power to create a better life. Because the truth is, your thoughts shape your reality. Change your mind and you'll change your life. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your story begins.